Welcome, guys, to the TRM show. My name is Mathew Park, and I have on the call today a familiar face you guys probably see on TRM in our calls, on our podcast, and throughout the TRM family is Mr. Isaac Miller, our TRM coach and mentor, an amazing member of our family who's just full of knowledge and, of course, a prime fan of the Detroit Lions because he loves that team so much. I love it, Isaac. I'm always bugging you, man. We love you, buddy.
Everyone knows I'm a Chiefs fan through and through.
I know, but we might take our podcast to be like, these guys actually telling the truth or are they just lying? But it's just energy flowing and start off things with some nice, fresh fun. So, yeah.
All right. I'm ready to dive in, man.
Awesome, brother. Obviously the last couple of weeks, we had some TRM calls and there were a couple of clients in TRM that you were coaching that had some exceptional results with their Black Friday special, which was fabulous. A couple of clients in TRM. And we were like, hey, let's do an annual call. And even, for example, like beyond the Black Friday is you also mentioned about this annual thing that you were building for Prolific Fitness. So, and Prolific, personal training that you were doing with your coaching. So it was really kind of impactful in that call. So today's actual Coach's Corner, we're going to talk about the importance of annual planning, as Isaac will mention, and break that down for us. We'll talk about quarterly planning, the difference between the two, how they both can benefit coaches growing their business, and then we'll go off of that.
Perfect. All right.
So I'm curious, man, your annual plan that you did, how long did it take you to get done?
A few days, and I'm still working on it. But it's something that I realized, I started my gym in January and I didn't really have a full plan in terms of I had a plan in terms of projections and growth and like implementing some of like the strategies that we use in TRM to help grow that. But I didn't really have a clear structure or plan in place in terms of like the actual strategy, marketing strategy and implementation there in order to really take advantage of some of the times of the year that we, just kind of have as part of our national, structure for our calendar years, as well as some of the, ebbs and flows of the fitness industry as a whole, right? Because there's going to be times of the year where, people are coming in because they want to, like January is a good example. You're going to have this influx of people trying to get in better shape in January. But then you have, times of the year, like say June or July, where it's summer vacation time and it seems like it's just crickets, coming into the door. And how can we strategize these times now so we're not trying to come up with the strategy when it matters most? I found myself in times where it's like you have that fight or flight kind of response and it clouds your judgment. You're not actually able to take action the right way. But if all of this is already mapped out, it makes it way easier to implement the strategy whenever you can think through it clearly and you're making decisions based off of data and not based off of emotion.
That's awesome. Let's take an example, Isaac. Let's break it down two different examples. Let's say we have a coach who's doing 5 figures, doing let's say 3 to 5K or 7K a month in their business. Let's talk about them, and then we'll kind of like how they would plan their annual, for example, for a year. And then we'll talk about a coach who's doing $500,000 a year. How would you see the difference in planning for those two areas of coaches?
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, I think this goes into there's multiple things that we have to look at, kind of different phases here. So one, we have to look at the business like vision, where you're wanting the business to go by the end of the year. And then we break that up into quarters. And I know you're really big on the quarterly plans with the rocks and having make those big rocks that actually, you complete those. And by the end of the year, if you've done all the rocks within your quarterly plans, you've accomplished the goal at the end of the year. So first, it's looking at what is it that we need to have or be at, where do we need to be at come December 31st of 2025, where does that need to be? And looking at what those numbers look like. What's the revenue supposed to be at? What, in order to get that revenue, how many clients do we need to have, or members do we need to have in our gym? And then breaking that down more in terms of, how many do I need to gain each month in order to make that happen? So I guess I would bring it back to you. Like, if we know where we're supposed to be at the end of the year, how do we break that down into quarters? What does that quarter look like? Because then the marketing plan comes from that when we take it back to the annual calendar.
That's a great question, Isaac. I love that. And honestly, I love Isaac's brain, because he's pulling it into like, what's the annual goal, which is so beneficial for coaches. And this could be your financial goal, where obviously that's kind of what we're talking about right now. It's the financial goal. To say you want to go from 20K months to 40K months by the end of the year, routinely fabulous. One could also be adding a coach to your team, right? One could be your family vacation. So look at personal goals. One could be your health goals. You want to compete in a bodybuilding show, or you want to lose so much weight, whatever. So you look at the categories of what you want to achieve at the end of the year, as Isaac just shared. Now, Isaac's share is very powerful, because he's also talking about these sections in the year. So if we kind of pull the annual goal and then we look at quarters, I always usually share in the one-page TRM planner that we use for our coaching clients, is the 3 rocks, which is something that is not new. It's been around. Covey created that many, many years ago, with 7 Habits of Other People as well. So it's not new, but then looking at what are your 3 rocks you're going to hit in quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And now, out of your 3 rocks, what does each rock have for smaller rocks, usually 5 main objectives? You're going to have probably a bigger plan off of that, but there's a main rock with 5 sub rocks. And that kind of rides all to your annual goal. So if your goal is to go to 40K months by the end of the year on your business, right now you're at 15, you're at 18, cool. So quarter 1, you might want to be hitting 25s, right? By the end of quarter 1, which you want to increase revenue by $7,000 a month. Cool. You're going to call with Isaac, right? He's breaking down your client acquisition process. He's telling you know what? These are the numbers. We need to get to, as opposed to 5 leads, we want 10 leads a week. So you're breaking down those quarter goals for your first $25,000 month, as Isaac would coach you on. Okay. Quarter 2, let's go 30K months. Beautiful. Let's break that down and keep building those little rocks out. I'm using numbers, but you can use whatever you like at the end of the day. If it's for a bodybuilding show, again, you're the expert here, Isaac, even more than I am. But let's say your show, you want to do 2 shows, one in July and one over in August. Well, you plan all your prep in quarter 1 in your first phase, right? In your rocks, and then phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. So you're using what Isaac shared as what is the annual year-end plan of goal? What's the future version of yourself? What's the 1-year objective? And then you're going to go in quarter chunks to achieve that, figuratively speaking.
Love that. Yeah. And looking at the quarterly goals, something that you had said to me a while back that I thought was really, really cool, was like, imagine you have a jar and you have to fill the jar to succeed in your quarter. And so you have these 3 rocks that go in, and like that's like the main objectives that you're trying to accomplish. Then you have all this kind of free space in that jar. So then you throw in some pebbles or some like smaller stones, and that's the 5 objectives that come from the big rock. But then you have all this, still little nooks and crannies and crevices, and that's where you pour in the sand, and the sand fills up the rest of that space. And the sand is the daily habits and daily actions that you do that lead to this. And so to keep this on kind of numbers, because as business owners, we have to think logically, and logic comes from data. And so if we're looking at numbers, it's like, let's say if you do a campaign or a promotion and you gain 25 leads, and out of the 25 leads, you gain 5 consultations, and out of the 5 consultations, you gain 1 client, just to make math simple. So 25 down to 5 to 1. Well, if I want to gain 5 clients, then I need to have 15 consultations. And if I want to have 15 consultations, I need to have between 100 and 125 leads. And so if my goal is to gain 5 in that quarter, that means I need to be generating this many consults and this many leads. And now we can break that down into weeks. How many leads do I need to generate each week? How many consults do I need to generate each week from those leads? And then how many clients do I expect to to convert from that. Now, luckily, if you go through something like TRM, that conversion rate goes up. And now if you have 5 consultations, you're going to land probably 4 or 5 of them. And if you have a certain number of leads through our TRM engine and being able to nurture them, you're going to book more of those leads into consultations. So we improve those numbers and take some of that work out of it, because it can seem like a lot when you're breaking down those numbers. But understand that systems play a role in that. But I think that's really how we have to look at the quarters. And when you told me and taught me this like jar kind of analogy, it made a lot of sense in terms of breaking it down to even just the daily habits that we have.
I love that, Isaac. So a question I have for you, buddy, is would you say that concept there is more aligned to more of a coach doing, $500,000 a year in their business, or even like 20K months, more than a coach doing like say 5K a month? What would be your answer to that, Isaac, do you think?
I would say it's the same. The framework is the same. Success leaves clues. So if I have a client who is still at 5 to 7K a month and they want to grow, and let's say they have 10 online clients right now, and that's where they're at. Well, we still need to set up what their goal is, like where are they going, and then set up look at their data so far. What does the data tell us so far? And that gives us a realistic goal to hit and a realistic number to shoot for each week. And then we can instill the daily habits and actions that we need to take each day to make those numbers happen.
I love that. What do you think, Isaac, are some of the most important habits for these fitness coaches to hit their annual or their quarterly goals that you've been seeing with our clients? Like, what do you think are some really ones that are crucial?
Yeah, great question. So it comes down to a lot of the stuff that we teach in TRM, right? The database, activating the database, having good collaborations within your Golden 50, and also having good content, organic content strategy. And with the brick and mortar side of things, there's other ways that we can kind of go about that, like even doing like paid organic, for example, where you run a post that's talking about just the ethos of your facility. And then you do an engagement campaign or an awareness campaign for $2 a day, but that reach now locally, instead of going to 500 people, goes to 5,000. And so it spreads awareness. So there's ways we can go about kind of doing that. But I think those main things, the database, the Golden 50, and social media, are going to be kind of the trifecta. And then to bring in Jace, he's really big on, five conversations a day in person, like meet 5 people a day. Now, to an introverted extrovert, or to an extroverted introvert like me, new people a day seems intimidating at times. So this goes into how can we strategize these habits? And so for me, it takes a lot of mental energy to plan and execute on meeting 5 new people. So for me, it's easier to have days specifically allotted to that. So I was interviewing a marketing director. I forget his name, but he's not going to listen to this anyway because he's not a trainer. So essentially what he would do is he would do a bunch of conversations in the morning, network in the morning, and then fulfill in the evening, meaning he was going to try and market as many people, and then the ones that actually kind of bit on that marketing in the morning is who he would then nurture at night and close.
Got it.
And so for me, I kind of like to break that down in the week. The first 2 days of the week are going to be networking. If you have Golden 50, that's going to be going and nurturing the relationships with the partners that you've built, or trying to build new partnerships. And I'm going to do that, every Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday through Friday, or Wednesday through Saturday, is the fulfillment side of things. If you're in a brick and mortar and you have employees, you can have your employees doing this for you. Or if you have a VA who's in charge of social media outreach, they can do this, where like that Monday and Tuesday, their whole purpose is to start conversations and to build relationships. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you start to fulfill those. You do the consultation calls, you do the discovery calls, you do the in-person consultations, the assessments. And that's where you can then start to build this kind of repeatable process week to week to help you generate more leads.
That's really good. I love that. That's awesome, man. And when you started to look at this annual plan, obviously you've been doing quarterly planning for a bit now, because obviously in TRM, and of course now you're doing your annual plan. So looking at those two categories, because right now, of course, you're planning out things right now, even like you're in the midst of planning your year right now, even still, which is totally normal for all the coaches in TRM anyway. When you look at the annual and look at your quarterly, what are like little nuggets you want to, for coaches to keep in mind when they're planning their quarters from their annual?
I love that. So looking at something that I noticed a lot of the trainers and gym owners in TRM, the problem that a lot of us faced was that we knew that, July had 4th of July. We knew that. And then come July 1st, we look at the calendar like, oh yeah, July 4th is in 3 days. I need to plan something. And then nothing happens because we're so stuck. But if now you understand, hey, 4th of July is on July 4th, duh. But I'm going to have a campaign start 1 week before that leads up to a red, white, and blue gym event. Bring a friend, wear red, white, and blue, and get, a $50 gift card to our services. And I can run that promotion for the week before, and I can already have that planned out and in the calendar. So that's where, being able to have clarity on when these certain things are. Maybe you want to do a promotion. One of our coaches here, she does photo shoots throughout the year, and she sells packages specifically for women doing these photo shoots. And so if you know when those dates are, you can plan the promotions into the when the coaching should start for that following, photo shoot. It could be that you want to do a, promotion just when times are slow. So in brick and mortar, and I think this plays true to online as well, you have to market a program for the market you're trying to attract. So if you are coaching, postpartum moms, right? Yes, you might coach each one of them individually. Everything's tailored to that person, but the consumer doesn't always understand that. The client doesn't always get that. So whenever you're talking about this, specifically tailored coaching style, it might go over their heads. But if you market a fit mom program that you launch, in June 1st, and suddenly you market that out and there's a bunch of these moms who want to be, fit moms, then you're going to get way more awareness and engagement off of that campaign. So if I know that these specific months of the year historically are low for us, I'm going to plan a specifically catered campaign to go out in that time. And so for that, it might be a fit mom. For another one, it might be strong dad. For another one, it might be, a fit over 40 or fit over 50 campaign that's attracting specific types of clientele that we want in our facility. And I have a lot of the clients here in TRM thinking the same way. Like, where can we start to promote specifically catered campaigns throughout the year to help bring in awareness in a time that historically might be low for your business?
Agreed. So as we're mentioning with this, guys, is that look at it as you mentioned, say your avatar is moms, like post prenatal moms, whatever basically it is, and that's part of your campaign. That you look in the course of the year, look at all the holiday seasons that actually make sense for your avatar, like he's mentioning, And then from there, every quarter you can break to maybe one holiday, thing per quarter, right? So if there's 4 holiday things per year, you got 4 different launches a year, and you can tailor them accordingly to your annual plan. So like Isaac mentioned at the beginning of our call, okay, start with the end in mind for the year. Go back to your 1 per month or 1 per quarter thing, right? So say the first, it's New Year's for January, Mother's Day for Q2, and whatever else for Q3 and Q4. Then you can plan everything around that that's strategically aligned to each quarter, and you aren't like fishing back and being reactive. You're actually proactively proceeding with that process.
100%.
Yeah, totally. While we're sharing for the Lions. So with that, that was icebreaker, bro. I love it, But what's cool about this is that I love this is that we're coming into middle of December. We're looking at the new year, and we've had this one page quarterly planner thing in TRM. So let's say, coach, right now they're listening to this podcast, and they are planning right now. They're going to plan this over the next 2 weeks. They're going to plan their next year. Let's talk about actionable steps. Okay, you share a couple, I'll share a couple. Let's go back and forth together on this, brother. You go annual. What are 3 to 5 annual steps a coach will do for this next couple of weeks to plan their annual plan going into the new year?
Yeah. I mean, at the sake of being redundant, it is focusing on what does the end of the year look like, and then breaking that down into the quarterly steps to actually make that happen. So for me, I look at the end of the year, and then I go to quarter 3. What should quarter 3 look like, and what are those rocks and everything? And then I go to quarter 2. What rocks need to happen in quarter 2 to allow the quarter 3 rocks to be what they are? And then I go to, quarter 1. And so I backwards engineer the year. Now I still allow it to be flexible. I might have to change things if quarter 1 doesn't go the way I planned. Quarter 2 is going to have to, tailor back a little bit, but it at least gives direction so that the brain knows where it's going and what actions to take. But I think what's really important is having time away from the business to actually do the plan. So it's one thing to say, I'm going to have a campaign, and this is probably more important to do quarterly. So let's say I have a campaign that I want to do in quarter 1. Well, before quarter 1 starts, I'm going to create that campaign. I'm going to create the content for it. I'm going to create the email campaigns for it. I'm going to create the automations, the funnels for it. I'm going to, get with Laurent and the team and do the project request so that it's all made and ready to go. And then the last few weeks of quarter 1, I'm going to do the same thing for quarter 2. So I'm taking time away to build the funnels, to build the automations, to make sure that everything's in place. So when we do have this marketing go through, I have conviction that everything's ready to go and ready to launch, and it's a smooth system.
I love that, Isaac. Okay, that's beautiful, guys. So I'm going to extend it basically with a couple more steps on my end for what I would also add to that, which Isaac had some brilliant points. Number 1 is the severe focus. I'm going to add that tool into the tool belt here. You're going to write down every quarter. Actually, you're going to go annual first. What you're not going to focus on in the year, what you will focus on for the year, and what you want to systemize and or delegate in the course of a year. Now, it might sound like a big thing for a year, but if you factor in 3 to 5 things in each bubble, so for each do, each don't, each systemize, that will give you the annual. Now go to each quarter, do the exact same thing for quarter 1. What are your 1 to 3 don'ts that you won't do? What are the 1 to 3, usually 3 do's you'll do? Again, rocks you'll do in quarter 1. Will you systemize or delegate 3 things in the quarter 1, which will allow you to keep your focus in severe, like keeping your focus growing and improving, going each quarter of your business.
Perfect. I love that. And when you're growing the business, understand, and this is the importance of having a good mentor. Understand that what you do and what you know now is going to be different than what you do, and you're going to know more later. And so if you're working with a good mentor a good mentor can allow you to think a little bit bigger or give you the insight so that you don't just do the same things that you did before. And this is really important because with sphere of focus, you don't know what you don't know. I, 7 years ago, just being a personal trainer, would not understand the actions that I needed to take in order to run a full brick and mortar gym. And so if I were to run the brick and mortar gym the same way I was just a personal trainer, it would never work. It would never work. And so the sphere of focus shifts. And now it's like, okay, I'm not worried about being the best trainer in the area. I'm worried more about marketing, because I have trainers that work here that are the best trainers in the area. I no longer have to focus on that. That's no longer in my sphere of focus. My sphere of focus now is more on marketing, on lead generation, on networking, on building the business. And so I think this is a big thing, especially for our people who are going from gold to platinum, who now realize that they're in a position where they have either a facility with multiple people. This is a huge one, talking to people who it's like, how many times are you on the floor? And they're on the gym floor all day. And it's like, okay, when are you actually doing work on the business? Nick is a very prolific gym owner. And he still trains clients, but he has a specific and strict schedule where he trains clients from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., sometimes 11, but mainly 6 to 10. Monday, I think it's 4 days a week. And that's it. He doesn't, from that time on, the rest of the day, he's working on his businesses, not in them. And so you have to have those strict boundaries there. And that sphere of focus plays true so that you can stick to the rocks that you set to grow quarter after quarter.
Oh, I love that. What's so great about Isaac mentioned, guys, is that Isaac kind of gave a scenario of sphere of focus evolves as your business evolves and as you evolve. So that's a tool in your toolkit you can use, as I mentioned, whether you're a hybrid trainer, a personal trainer, an online trainer, or a brick and mortar gym owner. And, Isaac has a good point. So your don'ts and your do's will obviously change as you evolve, but what you don't know is what you don't know, like Isaac mentioned. So looking at this angle of, use the tool in your tool belt. And I want to kind of go on this last thing because we'll do it for a different coach's corner, but I actually improved the box concept, Isaac, added an S on the back of it. And I threw it in there because I realized BOG is very powerful for realizing, where the bottlenecks are, looking for the opportunity and the growth, but then there has to be a strategy. So S is strategy, but we'll talk about that different on a coach's corner, and maybe we'll have that as a deeper dive, a different call.
Love that. All right. And planning that into your annual too is really important. Understanding where the bottlenecks are on a calendar is also key. If you're a brick and mortar and you have a huge influx in January, but you don't have the manpower to deal with it, that is a bottleneck. But also understanding that January brings in opportunities and growth. Or if you run or you're a personal trainer for athletes, understanding when is the off season, when is the opportunity, when is the growth. It's like if we know that there's a high school baseball team that regularly creates D1 college athletes, right, and we know that their off season right now is starting to be in big swing because spring will be coming soon and baseball season is officially going to start, then having a campaign in place and the programming in place to actually go work with that team is important. And if you aren't planning for that throughout the calendar year, then there's room for error, and you're going to leave room on the table for that growth. So understand the bottlenecks, the opportunities, and the growth, and then create that strategy now so that you can just act on it when the time's right.
Oh, so good, so good. Boggs, calendar, getting everything on the calendar. Make sure you have an actual on paper to see what you're actually planning in the strategy, the annual plan. Using the one-page TRM quarterly planner, there is literally just nugget after nugget in this episode. We should be charging for this, Isaac, in this process. But we're generous people. We like to give some things, obviously, in TRM. But if you guys are on here listening right now and you're like, man, these guys are kind of cool people, even though Isaac, he really enjoys the Chiefs more than the Lions. But that's okay. I forgive him. Okay. I love this guy. But if you are listening right now and you want to actually learn more about TRM, head over to our website at multiplier.com or on our Instagram page. Check us out, guys. You can see his handle right there on the page. Isaac Miller's at the Prolific Professor on his handle for IG. Any last words, Isaac?
Yeah. Last words, go Chiefs. But also understand, like, when you get into this deep planning, this is, maybe I'm talking for myself here, but this is the fun part for me. I'm a visionary at heart. Like, I love thinking about the year, strategizing, putting the chess game of business together. Like, to me, it's exciting. But understand that this isn't for the sake of just strategy and plan. Like, you have to execute. And so understand that, like, yeah, this month is very exciting to plan and to think and to grow and to dream, but have the discipline and the accountability from others, like in TRM, to actually execute on that plan and to stick with it even when it is boring. Because guess what? Business can be very, very boring, but that's what makes it successful.
Boring means it'll actually grow, and Isaac just shared it, even though he said go Chiefs. I agree with him.
You hear that? He said he agreed with the go Chiefs.
Buddy, it's so good to see you open up about this, man. You know, I feel like you went from, like, you know, just opening up this whole Chief Lions thing, even though you know Lions are better. But it's okay, because as we do these Coach's Corners and, you know, they improve their winning streak, all of a sudden in February we'll be like, bro, who won the Super Bowl? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. One of my clients lives in Detroit, and he asked me if I got the Super Bowl tickets yet. He was like, "You got the Super Bowl tickets for the Lions Chiefs game?"
But buddy, if the Chiefs actually don't make the Super Bowl, I will definitely be, you know, you'll hear from me in some categories. You know? Yeah.
I'll be a little shocked.
But it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. You know. So guys, this is us, guys. Isaac Miller, Mathew Park, TRM show over here, guys. Any questions you guys have, you know where to find us online, on Instagram, on Facebook, on our website. We are here for the group calls to support, keep leveling you up. Wishing you all a fantastic day. Isaac, man, you're awesome, buddy.
You're awesome, Matthew.
Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. I know how hard it can be and tough it can be when you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or even burnt out in growing your business. I have been there, so I can relate. So before you wrap up, I want to offer you something special, free of charge, as my gift to you. It's our TRM Business Assessment. If you go to trainerrevenuemultiplier.com, you can get a copy of that. There's a link on the homepage to grab that assessment. This will give you clarity you need to see where your company is at right now, the bottlenecks you're facing or where you're possibly stuck in the business, and what steps you can take to move forward to grow it to the next level. And if you want to go one step further, we can book a call together and I can personally go over your results with you and give you a roadmap you can move forward with to grow to the next level. Head over to the website. Let's get some clarity together. I look forward to speaking to you soon, and I wish you an amazing day. Take care. Let's keep rocking.